Hollywood panics. People hide behind multiple locked doors, if they can. It takes 2 weeks to get a locksmith. It takes $1,500 to buy a guard dog.
Hollywood became an armed camp. Kerr's Sporting Goods on Wilshire Boulevard ran out of small handguns. You couldn't hire security guards.
Musician John Phillips, who had been a frequent visitor to the Tate House, remembers the fear.
They were hiring college kids from UCLA, the football team, the basketball team, the track team, the baseball team as bodyguards. Everyone was completely paranoid.
The Los Angeles Police Department has assigned 17 sergeants and 2 lieutenants to investigate both of the brutal murders. As it stands today, they have 2 crimes that are similar. They have 7 people who are dead, and they have no solid suspects. Dick Shoemaker, ABC News, Los Angeles.
The killers would not be caught for months. In August, police are concentrating their search in Los Angeles. But while the city trembles, the strangers who created the terror are bivouacked at an old ranch far away in stark, rugged territory that is as hostile to outsiders as they are. A half-day's drive from Los Angeles near the southern edge of Death Valley, some of the most godforsaken country on earth. A 34-year-old man who had spent half his life in prisons and who likened himself to Christ frolicked in the wilderness that summer with his disciples, most of them women, all of them younger than he. Nourished on sex and drugs, they had surrendered their minds to Charles Manson. They were his family. 4 of those disciples committed the Tate LaBianca atrocities because Manson willed it. The hardcore Manson family numbered about 3 dozen, but all acolytes of evil. The family is the dark underside, the perversion of the hippie counterculture that flowered in the summer of 1969.
And the facts bred a certain paranoia about hippies. See, hippies are evil. Told you so. Earlier that summer, Hollywood told a different story. In the movie Easy Rider, the young and alienated were heroes. A couple of counterculture cowboys who rode motorcycles and were sensitive and were senselessly murdered by the straights. Western movies just weren't what they used to be.
There's no heat here, but, you know, by the time winter comes, I'll be in Florida.
Now there were midnight cowboys to cowboys. The wildest bunch of cowboys were also the most violent. We complained about the blood and lined up to see the movie.
Show 'em which direction Florida is, boys.
One movie that summer starred the wimpiest cowboy. This is not him.
Any questions?
That's him.
Do you think a girl should pet on the first date?
What?
I mean, if both parties involved are mature and liberal.
You're too old and too fat to be jumping horses.
And the next thing you knew, the classic cowboy hero was playing a fat old man superbly.
Well, come to see a fat old man sometime. Yeah!
Welcome to Max Yasgur's farm in upstate New York, and the commercial enterprise that would become an almost mythical event called Woodstock.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child.
A rock concert which ended up glorifying getting along, or put another way, peace. 27-year-old British musician Graham Nash was one of the players.
Woodstock was a précis of all that was going on. It was a gathering of 500,000 kids who finally realized that they could have a good time without being policed. They could have a good time without their parents being present. They could have a good time just between themselves.
One of the first at Woodstock, John Morris.
We were standing on stage, and we decided that we had to take a break, and I ordered everybody to go home and take a shower. It took 3 hours to get out.
The Hog Farm Commune ran the soup kitchen, and one of its members, despite being 8 months pregnant, was there with her home movie camera, Lisa Law.
one of the greatest pictures of them coming down the road towards the stage. Thousands and thousands and thousands walking, because they'd left their cars way back there. You could see, and it just said, wow, just like that. Oh, baby,
There were roughly 2.5 million people in a 17-mile circle. That's a hell of a lot of people.
Coming in from London, from over, lining up again.
Many Americans couldn't see what was such a big deal about Woodstock. To them, it was a mud puddle world occupied by an alien species. People like 22-year-old Arlo Guthrie.
Coming into Los Angeles, full of keys. Don't touch my bags if you please, Mr. Custom Man.
You had to be there. It was the first time that there was sort of there was just more of us than them.
There was a lot of far out, man, this is really happening kind of language. You were taught to speak in a certain correct way, and now all of a sudden you began to communicate in short bursts. I think the amount of marijuana that was smoked and the amount of drugs were taken added to that non-verbal communication. You would look at someone and you would know what they were about to say, so that they didn't have to say it. It's cool.
And Country Joe McDonald to fill in, but to McDonald, it was not cool.
Oh, my God, no, they're not serious. So I said, I don't have a guitar. And John said, that's okay, wait a minute. And he ran off somewhere, and I thought, oh, no, what's he doing? What the hell's going on here? And he came back with this cheap Yamaha guitar, And so I sussed it out, and I thought, okay, it'll work. But there's no guitar strap. I can't play without a guitar strap, So I thought, phew, I'm out of it, And then they went off with his guitar, and they came back with this piece of rope, which they tied on, as a guitar strap. But I thought, they're not going to give up, I can't get out of this. It's impossible.
Give me an F!
He looked right at me and went, F! And I thought, oh, my God, So then I just went on, there was no stopping. I couldn't stop it then. And I just...
Well, come on, all of you big, strong men. Uncle Sam needs your help again. Got himself in a terrible jam way down yonder in Vietnam. Put down your book and pick up a gun. We're gonna have a whole lot of fun. And it's 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. The next stop is Vietnam. And it's 5, 6, 7.
And what was music at Woodstock already was fact for some other young Americans.
We're all gonna die.
Always that summer, there was the war. And the soldiers we sent to
Woodstock, and there was a sea of death in Vietnam. There were, at the Woodstock concert, making love and not war, as there were people in Vietnam, American soldiers in Vietnam, making war and definitely not love. Were they right? Were we right?
To the families and friends of the young men and women in Vietnam, right and wrong were nothing compared to life and death. A letter from Vietnam, read by actor Richard Thomas.
Dear Brian, well, I'm still here in Vietnam, but should be home by mid-August, barring something out of the ordinary. Diane has been doing outstanding at Westchester. She'll be looking forward to my return so she can vacation for a while prior to returning to school this fall. She'll probably be going to University of Maryland, in that I received my orders to return to the Naval Academy to teach Chinese to first semester students. I've got many plans, and none. You know how we just stay in the Marine Corps and rest well in security and hope for another war somewhere to do my thing. It is all the time and experience. I couldn't have done it any other way, and will never regret the past 13 months. Your not desiring to come is rather immaterial, in that if you're assigned, you go. Or if you feel strongly against doing so, resist. Not be the man of decision, if dictated so by your principles. Really, isn't all that bad. War, I mean. In the large sense, disgusting. But in the smaller sphere, combat is happening.